If I had that faith in something higher, that I think would be beneficial for me. So I had to want it. I wanted it. And then I started reading the Bible. And it was really like a number of years later, a couple of years later, that it just clicked. And I was like, okay, I get it. But I didn't get it for a long time. I was just reading the Bible. I tried to go to church a few times, but I was like, I don't really understand it.
Ruslan.
Mikhaila Peterson, Jordan Peterson's daughter, goes on an iced coffee hour and opens up in a very surprising way about her faith and how she grew in it and how she did not grow up Christian. She grew up rather secular, and it completely transformed her at a time where she least expected it. But before we get into that, guys, my name is Ruslan, and this channel exists to encourage, empower, and inspire you to live a life that blesses God. On this channel, we drop podcast clips and topics that are a little too spicy for the main channel. So if you're new here or if you're not new here, please make sure you're subscribed here too, as we're edging on 250,000 subscribers, and huge majority of you guys that watch this channel, unfortunately, are not subscribed. All right, let's jump into the video. So big props to Iced Coffee Hour. Graham has been doing a great job, and I love it when these sorts of things come up organically for them. This is really cool.
Why would that bother them? But they're also just people. So they read the comments underneath.
Yeah.
Just like anyone reads comments underneath. And they're impacted. You do get desensitized after a while, for sure. But like, we're still social animals and like want other people to like us and things. So they're still impacted by what people say. Otherwise, they wouldn't use things like Facetune.
Speaking of, how do you keep your ego in check after getting very popular? And like, I know you guys grew up a little bit more on the poorer side and then acquiring a lot of wealth and having people like revere you for so many different reasons, like how they enjoy your belief systems and ideology. How do you not let that get to your ego?
It was probably harder to begin with, because it's super exciting, right? Especially if you don't have a social media, and then it starts growing. You're like, whoa, this is really cool. That novelty wore off. And then I'm probably kept in check by God mostly, not by like my own value of myself.
Come on. Okay, first of all, she said the novelty wore off, right? Now, in my case, by the grace of God, I did not blow up fast. My Instagram was very slow. There was a time where I went from like 70,000 to 130,000 pretty quick. I was not intrigued by any of it. I didn't like the extra DMs. I didn't like the extra this was not cool to me, right? Like being famous is not cool.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. She says on the other side of God, on the other side of having an encounter with God, all of a sudden she had angers. So perhaps God all along is for those people that want to build businesses, build platforms, build influence, build products. Perhaps God all along is those anchors that can keep you checked, that can keep you not excited about the clout, not letting it get to your head, not letting the fame ruin you, not believing the best or believing the worst that people say about you, right? So it's interesting that she instantly goes from, yeah, it was cool at first, and then all of a sudden, novelty wore off, you know?
It's probably impossible to keep it from going to your head. So I don't value, like compared to a number of years ago, I don't value the social media component as much as I value things that are actually happening in my own life. And I wouldn't necessarily attribute that to like choices I'm making necessarily. I give credit to God for that.
How does God play into that exactly?
Just like changing what I'm attracted to. So I used to be attracted to making a lot of money. And that was, I think, partly because I grew up not having very much money, and partly because I was so sick that I was like, I can do this and I can prove myself. And making money shows people that you're valuable. And I think also being a girl, I was like, I don't know, attracted to that in a way that I probably shouldn't have been like attracted to it. And you know, people who are obsessed with money, you shouldn't really like be like that. And so I think I was kind of like that, but it felt okay. Like it felt like I was poor and I'm trying to do good things and I'm like being successful, and that's a good thing. But then I was ending up not paying attention to like more real things in my life. And it's not like I wasn't paying attention to them, but I wasn't obsessed with those things like I was obsessed with the goal of like being successful. And then when I started, like honestly, when I started reading the Bible more and felt more of a relationship with God and Jesus, that changed my heart to not valuing.
She's dropping so many gems. She talks about changing what you're attracted to, how when you grow up poor, you have a scarcity mindset. So you're like, oh man, like I guess the only value I have is what I could develop, what I could drive economically for people. Yeah. And when that becomes the barometer, that's awful, because economic value should be on the back of, you could have economic value without having real value. It gets real schemy, right? There's a lot of people that do all kinds of schemy things, get rich quick, right? But usually when you have true value, unless you like take a vow of poverty or you're like a missionary, usually when you have true value, that comes through some sort of economic output. Not always, right? But the value of a stay-at-home mom is really high, but it doesn't always generate dollars. Yeah. So if your identity is in dollars, well, then what about if you feel led to take a season for your family, to take a sabbatical, right? So I think that's brilliant on her part that she's taking this imagery, and then she gets to this like kind of bombshell that I don't think Graham was expecting, that like reading the Bible changed what she was attracted to. Reading the Bible changed what she desired. That's that sanctification process, right?
More like vain aspects of my life as much. So like social media, money, that kind of thing.
Were you religious growing up, or was this something you discovered as an
No,
adult?
like my dad always taught me the psychological significance of the Bible. So like very metaphorical, what Job, he's the one that he gets completely tortured by Satan. And he's like, he loses his kids and Satan, makes him very ill. And I was always like, oh, that like I kind of identify with that because I was so ill. And I learned about like Noah's Ark, and like everybody kind of knows about Noah's Ark and stuff. But I didn't pray. We didn't go to church. Like I went to church once with my grandma. Like no. And my dad wasn't religious and my mom wasn't religious. But when she had cancer, she almost died from cancer in 2019. And it was like a crazy rare cancer that like nobody has. And there were like 18 case studies and everybody died. It was really awful.
Or skeptical about God healing people. Like this is why God heals people.
Yeah.
Like God heals people because Tammy Peterson's healing, miraculous healing, has gone on to be testified by the Petersons. How many times have we heard them talk about this?
Changed the entire trajectory of one single family that has a huge impact on millions of people.
Right. And I'm not saying God has to heal or God always does heal, but when God does heal, it can have really crazy impacts like this. We've heard the Petersons testify about this a lot, and it's awesome and it's great.
Surgery, the surgeon like nicked something and it wouldn't heal and she was dying, and she wasn't religious at all. And then like one day she goes, I'm going to be better by our anniversary. So my dad and my mom's anniversary. And we were like, okay, Mom, you're on a lot of morphine. Like that'd be great. And she goes for surgery in the US and it didn't work. And she comes back to Canada, and on their anniversary, she just healed and nobody could understand why. And she was like, it was God, just like kind of out of the blue. And I was like, okay, that was strange. And I don't really know how to understand that. And she was just like, that was God. Like he spoke to me. He said he would do that. And it's been really since then that I've been like, oh, maybe these religious people aren't so crazy. Like maybe there's more out there than what I was thinking before.
How do you even start by becoming religious? Do you start by reading the Bible?
I started.
Pause it. I love Graham's questions, bro.
Yeah.
That's such a cool question. The fact that he's asking these questions is
Not just like, okay, cool. So tell me about
how do
your
I
investing.
I'm in. How do I start?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love it. Go ahead.
By reading the Bible, reading the Gospels, and then wanting it. Like I wanted it. I wasn't someone who was scoffing at it at that point. Like early on in my life, I was like, oh, Christians are like the homeschooled kids that think Harry Potter's evil. But I think I had so many hard things happen to me and like terrible things happen to me that I was
That was
like,
my
if
parents.
that were true, or if I believed that, like I want that. I want that faith that my mom has, because like she started to believe in God and Jesus, her cancer healed, and then she became like a nicer, more like welcoming, more patient person. And I was like, that if I had that faith in something higher, that I think would be beneficial for me. So I had to want it. I wanted it. And then I started reading the Bible, and it was really like a couple years later that it just clicked, and I was like, okay, I get it. But I didn't get it for a long time. I was just reading the Bible. I tried to go to church a few times, but I was like, I don't really understand it. I don't really understand.
How has it
what
changed
is.
your outlook today?
Well, I went into it a bit. Like a lot of what changed for me was I used to value different things than I value now. Like I've always wanted kids and things, but I was like, but I really want to be successful and I want to build. Like we're building an app, Peterson Academy, an online education app, which is launching in like June. It's happening right away. And I was like, I want to be successful and to have money so that I can be one of these like billionaire people to try and change society for better. That was my aspiration. And that was because I was so sick and was like, we need to be teaching people not to eat processed foods, and just like something as simple as that. I was like, I want to get to the level of power that I can do that. So that was more my goal. And then since I got saved, I would say it's more family oriented. It literally switched to that. Even though I have all this business opportunity and the social media opportunity and things, it's just like, I don't care as much. And I think I was caring about it in an unhealthy way, probably. I hired somebody.
Look, just the change of one's desires from I want money, fame, status to do good. Good desires to do good to I think I want to be a mom. And like the other stuff's cool. Right?
Yeah.
And I think so many people aren't leaving margin in their life for the thing. Like I think I might want to be a mom part. That they're and there's that for dads too. There's an equivalent for that for dads. I want to be a provider. I want to be home more. I want to be more present with my kids. That we don't leave margin for that. And then by the time you get to that season, it might be too late. It might be too hard. You might be too old, right? And so like, I hope that the folks that aren't walking with Jesus would consider these things, that like later on, God may change your heart and you might start desiring things you don't desire right now. And that might not be in your plan, right? 10 years ago, I thought I wanted to be on tour, traveling the country, performing, doing shows. And now I look at being on tour and I'm like, yuck. I got to go live in a bus for 30 days. You can't pay me an amount of money to be gone from my family for 30 days.
That's crazy.
You can't pay. There's not a dollar amount that'll have me, right? And because God starts to change your heart and the things you desire. This is the byproduct of being, what the scriptures say, born again. You must be born again.
Do housekeeping and stuff. I wasn't just paying as much attention to that because those tasks kind of bothered me, and now they don't bother me as much. It was small changes like that. And then I'm also calmer overall and like happier. It was a very strange change going from somebody who grew up in like the middle of downtown Toronto and like thought Christians were.
Does that give you more purpose?
It's mostly calmness and joy. Like I was also the type of person that if anything bad happened to me, and a lot of bad things happened to me, I was like, what can I do to fix this? Like, what are all the ways I can do to fix this? Like when you have a work problem and you just try to attack it from every angle. And that happened when I was sick. I was like, I'm going to do everything to get better. And I eventually got to an all-me diet and was like, okay, that seems to work. And my mom was always like, it's up to God. He'll figure it out. And I was always like, okay, but it's also kind of up to us because you can't just like sit there. You have to like do things. And I think now I can understand you should still do things, like not doing things just because you believe in God isn't the right way to act. But I know that it'll work out eventually. Like I don't have to push as hard as I was trying because it's not like.
I don't have to push as hard.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said $1 million for 30 days. No, absolutely not. I would not be gone from my family for 30 days for $1 million. Absolutely not. The million will come in other ways. And I'll probably be better off it being spread out. And if it was actually $1 million, I could actually take my family, get the nicest
That's
bus.
a fact.
You know what I'm saying?
Why the false binary?
Yeah, there's no false binary. I'm saying 30 days being gone from my family is absolutely no non-negotiable.
Especially the problem is that it's usually not $1 million. Yeah, like you said, because if it was, you could take your family, it'd be fine.
No.
Reality isn't just up to me.
To me, that sounds like a lot more confidence, though. You have the confidence that things will work themselves out.
Yeah, it's like faith.
And that's
faith that things will work out.
Also, it seems like very outcome oriented when you're placing like all of your emphasis on like how hard you're trying, and it's like I'm only trying because I want a positive outcome. Whereas like if you know everything will be okay regardless, then it's like obviously you can still try and you should still try, but knowing you'll be okay regardless of outcome is like a little bit.
Well, it's psychologically a huge.
Yes. Not trying as hard. Positioning yourself versus being thirsty. Making sure that what you're dealing with is genuinely valuable to other people. And then knowing that if you really have something of value to offer, you don't always have to chase the other side of whatever that value is. That you can make it, do it, be excellent, and over time it will come to you.
That's a fact.
You know? And that's the beautiful part about what she's saying. And she's cooking. I mean, this is to see someone come to faith later in their life after already being a public figure with access to resources, seeing something miraculous happen, and then it totally transforms you. And then your paradigm of the world changes and your value systems change and your desires change. And then be able to come out on the other side of it and testify about it is really cool on her part. And to testify about it, I mean, I would love for her to come on a platform like mine. I think she did some stuff with John McCrae with Unbelievable. But to hear her testify about this stuff on Graham's Iced Coffee Hour, like that's the cherry on top in a situation like this.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. So thanks so much for checking out the video. Comment down below and let me know what you think. And be sure to check out this video that YouTube is recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.